You know what I do? I buy my own audiobooks and listen to them. Crazy, right?
Hi, I'm Henika Watkins, Porter, speaker, coach, author of Podcast Power, inviting you to listen to the Authorpreneur Secrets podcast, brought to you by C. Ruth Taylor, best-selling indie author and the Caribbean's most trusted voice on entrepreneurship. Get ready to dominate entrepreneurship.
Happy New Year. It's episode 196 of the Authorpreneur Secrets podcast. I'm your host, Ruth Taylor, and in today's show, I'm going to be doing a year in review, highlights of 2025 with special focus on the books that I published in 2025. I actually published 12 or 13 new books in 2025. And let's see what 2026 holds. And I'm going to tell you what are some of the upcoming entrepreneurship ventures. And so, if you want to be inspired, if you want to see what some of the possibilities are for entrepreneurship, I want to encourage you to stick around for this episode.
Your book is the perfect spark to get the fire going in your personal life, career, business, or ministry. Light that book spark today.
All right, so let's get into it. You know, Joanna Penn of the Creative Penn podcast, she does this kind of thing at the end of the year. She normally does her year in review in terms of her goals, and she also has one about, her business plans for the next year. And it's good to have like a year in review to look back on the year that was and make some plans for the year ahead. Already the new year has started off with all kinds of geopolitical happenings, and so we're not quite sure, what will happen in the world, but let's focus on what we can control. And one of the books I read in 2025 was The Gap and the Gain by Dr. Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan, and it changed my life. So when we're looking at success, we want to measure success against who we were and where we are now, not necessarily the ideal or look at others. So we measure it backwards. We're measuring against ourselves. And that has brought me to an incredible place of peace. And so, it's gratitude. So every January, I have the Caribbean Authorpreneur Summit. And so that was the first big event for January 2025. And we're going to be having the Caribbean Authorpreneur Summit again. It's going to be held every year until 2030, God willing, because we're still on a mission to train 10,000 independent authors to become authorpreneurs. We want to challenge you to create some profitable program, product, or service with your book beyond selling it. And then if you're able to earn between 1,000 and 10,000 US dollars or more from that initiative, then you would qualify for my list of 10,000 Caribbean entrepreneurs. And in 2030, we're going to have a grand celebration and a special coffee table book, and your name will go in there. And so it's really about training. So the podcast is helping the books that I've written. And going forward, I'm going to be doing more training and challenging persons. So I want to have a quarterly challenge, and we'll see how that goes. But 2025 was focused on marketing, and we had an international guest, Dave Chesson, and I was excited to have him. We had Aminata Koot, and we had others just learning more about book marketing and selling books on KDP. And for me, it was a fantastic 2 days. And at first, it kind of looked iffy because I was hospitalized, I think the week before I passed out at home. I've been having back problems for years, but it seemed as if it had gotten worse and I could not walk and I was in extreme pain. And I was in the hospital for several days. I had to be walking with a stick, and it was said that I need surgery because I have what they call it, isthmic spondylolisthesis. So I have arthritis of the back and I have the spine there. There's some area that is out of alignment and the cartilage is wearing away. So I was on medication and I was in physiotherapy. And I must say, though, since the episode, I haven't been in as much excruciating pain as I've had over the years. And though there are still issues from time to time, I can say maybe since April or so, it has been better. There are still some days when I still have difficulty walking, but I am grateful. And I was scheduled to speak at the Jamaica Brew Festival. And because of the hospitalization, I could not make the trip. And so I had to do a video presentation after I recovered. And I want to give God thanks because during the hospitalization, I got favor. And I'm grateful for that. So I've started 2026. I'm walking, I'm okay. Still some discomfort, but I give God thanks. So the first big event was the Caribbean Authorpreneur Summit. And during the summit, we normally give a discount and encourage persons to register for the Authorpreneur Secrets Academy membership group. So every January, I have a publishing special whereby you can get self-publishing with support to publish your book for $1,000 or less. Now the book has to be small and there are other conditions, and that continues. And so the summit this year will be January 30 to 31. So it's all the way at the end. Usually we have it in the third week in January, but this year it will be all the way at the end. And we're looking at future ready authors writing, publishing, and thriving in the age of AI. So join us for 2 transformative days designed to empower Caribbean writers, publishers, and creatives to embrace the future of authorship and build diaspora connections that matter. So we're going to learn how to leverage AI tools, navigate ethical boundaries, where to find some of the best book festivals, how to build sustainable author brands as we prepare for the future. And in the weeks to come, I'll be sharing more about that. You've already met 2 of the presenters because within this summit, I'm going to be having a publishing graduation because publishing is one of the authorpreneurship ventures that you can participate in order to create sustainable income. You can offer publishing services, and I have a publishing certification program. I work with you for 4 to 6 months, train you how to publish books, then have you work with real clients, and I mentor and coach you as you build your business. And so you can sign up for that program. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. So this graduation will showcase the 5 who were certified last year. So January was filled with a lot of excitement. I was working on one of the books in January, which was Better Than I Dreamed. I did not end up with 12 books. That I think something just snapped in May as I celebrated in 2025 10 years in book publishing. Not 10 years writing. I had written my book in 2014 and then took 9 months for it to self-publish. January 2015, my business was registered, so I became an author entrepreneur in January 2015 and published my first book in January 2015. And so in 2025, I celebrated 10 years as an authorpreneur. And I had a celebration for that at Grace Missionary Church, and it was merged with Wellness Month. And even that was exciting because I met new people and I was able to have a physical book launch because I haven't had a physical book launch in years. I've just been doing things online. So I was able to have a physical book launch and sell books. And I have lots of pictures capturing the moment my mom was able to share, why she supported my dream. 2025 was really looking back, at the past 10 years, all the persons who supported me on the journey. And the celebration was a highlight. But prior to that, in April, we had through Bamboo Sparks, I am one of the co-owners of Bamboo Sparks, a publishing services company that does done for you services for authors who don't want to self-publish all by themselves. We had our first publishing summit in person. Again, that was another huge expenditure, over $500,000. And we started without money, but we were able to build relationships and have a very successful event. Then, throughout the year, I worked on my dissertation. This was a major goal. So I set goals. I normally set my goals October preceding the new year and then work towards them. And one of the goals was to complete my dissertation. So after 9 months of working on the proposal, and that has been the most painful part of this doctoral journey, getting my dissertation proposal approved. It was finally approved in January, towards the end of January. I think it was either the 29th or the 31st of January, 2025. And it was tears of joy that I could go forward and then carry out the actual dissertation research. And so my doctoral dissertation is on exploring entrepreneurship as a viable model for sustainable income generation in Jamaica through microfinancing. And it was such a struggle to get sometimes the responses and to do the interviews with the authors, but it worked out. I think that was done over 4 months. And there were certain pauses, but I give God thanks for the prayers of his people. I would not have completed the dissertation without the encouragement of my support group. So at Bakke Graduate University, or BGU for short, we actually have as part of the program, you have to have your personal learning community, which is a support group on the doctoral journey, because 50% of those who start their doctorate don't finish it. And so my support group, without my PLC, personal learning community, I would not have gotten that far because I remember the year before, I was ready to quit with the challenges with the dissertation proposal. I have like 7 persons with doctorates on my personal learning committee, and I'm grateful. And so going through chapter 1 to 3, the corrections, one of the things is that the dissertation process will humble you. And it was actually the publishing that helped me because we have like in Bamboo Sparks a 5-step editing process. And many times we think we've gotten everything, and then you read the document one more time and you see that there's an error or something you didn't see before that you really should have seen before. And so the process has taught me compassion, patience, and to really have a keen eye and not to be dogmatic about certain things. And So completed the research, and I had taken a podcast break in May to October to work on the dissertation research. I felt I needed to just focus on that. So completed the research, resumed the podcast in October, and I think I hadn't begun chapters 4 and 5 yet. So I was analyzing the data, and even that was a challenge. At some stage, I felt like a fish out of water. One of my clients, her book that really helped me is Dr. Lisa Facey Shaw. She has a PhD and works at the University of Technology, and her book, 12 Lessons I Learned on My PhD Journey. I had to read that book multiple times, and it really helped me. Hearing the testimonies of other doctoral students or persons with doctorate and the journey. Hearing their stories also encouraged me. And so by December, I had submitted the first full draft, and I didn't have a lot of corrections, and I'm grateful. So now I'm now moving on to the next phase, which is the dissertation has gone on to the technical reader. So they're going to check for grammar and all kind of things to make sure the dissertation is legit, no plagiarism, make sure it adheres to APA 7 standard and the college standards and international standards. And I am prepared. I tell myself if I have to make the corrections 1,000 times, I'm going to do it until. And then after that should be the oral review and corrections after that. But the entire process should be wrapped up by May 10, and graduation would be the first Saturday in June. So yay, I'm looking forward to graduate and to know that my doctoral research is focused on the very area that I've been involved in. So that was something I was working on continually throughout the new year. And my capacity, my productivity is unbelievable. I cannot believe the number of things that were achieved in 2025 while doing a doctoral dissertation. I talked about the summit, having health challenges, and then I took on the task of writing and publishing 13 books. Crazy. The I I think it was in May, just the desire to start writing just came upon me. And we're not only two of those books were like very low content book, which was Pages of Hope, which was my company's response to the Hurricane Melissa, that devastated Western Jamaica and other countries. And so we created this low content inspirational notebook and journal. So it has a story, it has space for you to journal, it has scriptures, and it has Jamaican proverbs, and it has iconic places in Jamaica. And we were able to produce 2 volumes of that, or 2 stories, Pages of Hope. And I am actually using my own Pages of Hope journal and notebook. I use it for reflection and planning and ideas. And so it's not just for students as an exercise notebook, but you can also use it for planning. So we did 2 of that. So 2 low content books, and we were able to distribute that on our Christmas mission. Again, a lot of things that we do, so we're starting without money, but we wanted to do our part. And so December 20th to the 21st, we were able to partner with others and give out at least 75. And then there were other groups that joined to give out toys and care packages. So maybe about 100 people, children or so, were served with those items and Pages of Hope. So you've heard 3 books so far. Better Than I Dreamed. Better Than I Dreamed was a book study of Ruth, and just a revelation that despite the odds, things turned out for Ruth and Naomi better than they dreamed. And it has become my own mantra that indeed my future, no matter how things are will be better than I dreamed. It's about how painful journeys lead to beautiful destinations. And I ended up doing a Bible study with that, a 4-week Bible study at my church. And even that was such a blessing. I also had a book club, the Better Than I Dream 6 weeks book club. Again, that was a precious time. So that's an example again of how you can utilize your book, promote your book. I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing another Better Than I Dream book study this year. We'll see. Another big highlight was the Small Book Big Impact Challenge. So the annual November Writing Challenge, I changed the name to Small Book Big Impact, named after a book that I had published in December 2024. And that was a 30-day challenge, and it was amazing. At least 20 new books were written from that challenge, and including the Pages of Hope. I did it during that time. I published a book called Making Sense of 9 to 5 in the East and the West with Dr. Boaz Young from Hong Kong, China. And that one is about business as missions, the theology of work, how we can turn our 9 to 5 into a mission field and make work meaningful and see work as worship and not just a paycheck. So that was one of the books that was published November 30, and it was completed during the challenge. Now I'm saying I'm doing all of this, co-writing and publishing all of these books on top of the dissertation and running the business. And so Better Than I Dreamed, that came out, I think that was February. I had the book launch of Better Than I Dreamed and Small Book Big Impact in April at the Bamboo Sparks Publishing Summit and Expo. And then I wrote my first children's book, Ari Dreams, in August, because I just said I wanted a book in every genre. And I did that, and I was able to give away copies of Ari Dreams during the Christmas outreach. And then during the outreach in December, actually got to read it and share it with children and adults alike. Then there was $1 Million Book Secrets. I wrote that and published that in a day, and I was able to earn from it. And so this is a program now where I teach you how to create $1 million Jamaican from your book, which is 6,200 and something, less than 6,300 US dollars. But the strategies in it can be used to generate $1 million in any currency. It's just that it might take longer. You might need more people than you would in Jamaica. And you can go to extramileja.com/MBC. I'll put the link in the show notes to that. Book number 4, Starting Without Money, How to Achieve Big Dreams with Small Pockets. I'm always starting things without money. I just make the decision. I don't look to see if I have $1 million to do the thing. Once I get a vision for the thing and believe that God wants me to do it, then I step out and then I work out and trust God for the money later. That's exactly how I did my doctorate, how I started it along the way God taught me how to use my books to fund my doctoral program. So he taught me the whole entrepreneurship thing. And I'm almost at the end. I think, is it 25,000 I'm looking at up there? I think it might be about 25,000 US dollars. And when I started, I had no money. And if you put that in Jamaican, let me do the conversion. 25,000 US dollars that's 4 million Jamaican dollars. And God got me through. And so Starting Without Money has stories. I think 7 stories or 5 stories of things that I have been able to accomplish without money, including the doctorate, because where there is vision, God will grant the provision. Then there is Kitchen Sink Revelations. I love that book. Uh, when I'm around the kitchen sink, I get all these wonderful ideas. And so these nuggets of revelation, that's an inspirational one. I think that's 21 ideas, revelations that I've gotten that have been life-changing. Then I just started writing more second chance romance novels. So I did Between Goodbye and Hello. So these are novellas. And that is about a couple that met at a funeral. And how that unfolded, finding love at a funeral. 5 Days Forever is another second chance romance with a couple. They were married for 5 years and then the husband passed away and she found herself pregnant after. And how would she continue? And somebody is there who has been in love with her for quite a while. Will she give him the chance? Will she open her heart to receive love again? And that was that. And then in December, I don't know what came over me. I wrote another second chance romance, which is the sequel to Carissa's Second Chance, which is my first ever novella in February 2025, which is a sequel to Carissa's Second Chance, my first ever novella, which was written in 2024, February. That gave me so much joy. I must say, writing the novellas, I feel joyful. The excitement is palpable, right? I wrote Nadia Second Chance, the sequel to Carissa, where Carissa's sister Nadia, who has been divorced for 15 years, unexpectedly finds love. And it's all about Carissa's first fiance who passed away, and his final words to her were, promise me you would not give up on love. And so Nadia is now being challenged not to give up on love, even at 45, after being divorced for 15 years, and how she finds love. And it is exciting, even as I'm just describing it. And it's fun. I will be writing more second chance romance in the future. And it became an Amazon bestseller. I didn't expect it to make the Amazon bestseller list in two categories. I just kind of wrote it, fling it up there. I wasn't looking for it, not aiming for it. I'm in a different season in terms of writing. I'm writing more for joy, and I've always written for purpose, but each book that comes out, I have something attached to it, or it's just for my joy. Like the novel's definitely for my joy. Unshackled Nuggets is about moving from hurt to hope, you know, some of the lessons I have learned. And it looks at Absalom and Tamar's story, how unhealed hurts can imprison you and cause you to become desolate. Unhealed hurts, not forgiving, how that can ruin your destiny, because here a prince and a princess, they are destroyed because of unhealed hurt. The hurt imprisoned them. And then I go through my freedom roadmap to help you to move from hurt to hope. And I want to use that for an Unshackled Life Transformation Program. It's all about emotional healing. And so I haven't used that book yet, but I am planning to use it for mentoring. And some of these are not in print format. So Better Than I Dreamed is available in audio, print, and ebook format. And during 2025, in one day, 18 of my books were released as audiobooks thanks to Amazon Virtual Voice. You know what I do? I buy my own audiobooks and listen to them. Crazy, right? So, Unshackled Nuggets, Nadia's Second Chance, Pages of Hope, Volume 1 and 2. So it's two books, two low content books, two different stories in there. So in a sense, that would make actually 14 if you count each Pages of Hope book is two different low content books because it's two different stories. So that's 14. And then the final book released on the last day of the year was Driving with Confidence. Now, I'm going to end that as the highlight of 2025. So I've been struggling to stay behind the wheel since I got my license in 2004. I had a minor accident, which I hit a child, but though the accident was minor, it left a major dent in my confidence. And over the years, the root of fear kind of just mushroomed. It became a big tree. What started as a seed became a huge tree, a huge mountain that seemed unmovable. So I would drive sometimes, um, if I'm forced to drive, but then having made attempts to regain courage, sometimes the persons I was driving with were not nice, and I kind of gave up. And then the fear got so bad that if I think about driving, I'm actually hyperventilating. Because part of it is resilience. I don't like criticism. Driving on Jamaican roads is rough. The road hogs, the road rage. And I needed to develop resilience and a thick skin, not to care what anybody said. So it really wasn't about driving. And then in 2025, I just resolved, you know what, I'm just gonna be a passenger princess. I can't bother with this. And then at the kitchen sink again one morning or one afternoon, I know I was at the kitchen sink and it's like something came to me. What if you're resisting what God wants? If God wants something for you and you don't want to do it, that's a sin. I was like, what? I never looked at it that way. And by this time, the fear was kind of coming back again because I hadn't been behind a wheel for more than 6 months. And I hadn't driven more than twice in 2024. And in 2023, I didn't drive. So I said, okay, I'm going to finish this book. I prayed, and I have what I call my Design to Win roadmap. It's a roadmap for success that I've used in different areas of my life, a roadmap for transformation. And I said, I'm going to apply it to driving. And I prayed and I fasted and I put the book on pre-order to say, okay, I'm putting it out there. I'm going to have courage to stay behind the wheel. I'm going to drive with confidence. And I gave myself, I said I was going to drive for 21 days. Then with the hurricane and everything, I said, okay, 12 times behind the wheel before I could release the book with integrity. And I ended up 14 times behind the wheel. Sometimes I myself asked to go behind the wheel. I paid for more refreshers. I drove 14 times. I ended up driving myself to church and they prayed, and it was a challenge, the whole process, but I regained courage and confidence. And I stayed behind the wheel 14 times in a year, which I'd never done before. And it was because of this book, Driving with Confidence. But guess what happened on New Year's Day now? While on vacation, one of our designated drivers fell ill. So I had to get behind the wheel. And I was like, this is exactly what I had prepared for. Thankfully, the driver came back around because part of the journey was treacherous through thick fog and some dangerous ravines. In fact, we passed some accidents on the way, and I think there was a car that went over, or a truck, some vehicle went over the precipice. And thankfully, our driver recovered, and she did most of the driving. But at least I was able to do my part. I drove for part of the journey. And just getting over that fear, somebody else's easy can be your agony. There are still times, when I think about driving that the fear would come, but I pray and I reflect on the past successes and I use back the roadmap, and you have to get the book to see what the roadmap is. Map there is an acronym. So the new year has begun. And I was behind the wheel on the first day of the year. Whoopee! So that's the roundup of 2025. what's gonna happen in 2026, or what are the plans? Finish my doctorate, graduate. I'll be Dr. Taylor. I want to be Dr. Taylor by my birthday. So I pray to do the oral review early, and then the books that remain in just ebook and audiobook format, I want to convert those to print. There are some other books that I wrote in 2025 that were not published. So I'm going to publish those, including Fairview's Untold Stories, some amazing stories of resilience, faith, hope, miracles. It's just a good faith builder. And the sermons that I preach while on assignment at this church in the last 3 years. I plan to do more entrepreneurship training. I have created an entrepreneurship course, Authorpreneur Secrets 101, that is free. I would love for at least 10,000 persons to sign up for that. And then entrepreneurship challenges. I will continue doing the publishing training. I plan to do more $1 million book secrets, either the mastermind. So I know at least 3 books will be published. I'm writing one with my pops, my mentor, Reverend Courtney Richards. I plan to do some training, making sense of 9 to 5 training with my co-author. So that's on for 2026, and to travel. So I'll update you as we go along, and I'll continue writing, and writing is my happy place. What are your plans for 2026? All right, that's it for today. Just reminding you that of the making of books, there is no end. Go pen it to win it and dominate entrepreneurship. Ta for now, until next time.